Hello, everybody. Today I'm talking about the transit of Mercury. This is an ongoing transit masterclass where I'm teaching you about the secrets of the transits and also telling you why it's so important to know the transits, because they are a way of managing and improving the quality of your life. Hello, I'm Komilla Sutton, and we are talking Mercury transits and how to deal with them and how to get the best out of them. So, as far as Mercury is concerned, Mercury has the most interesting transit in a year, and we should be well advised to watch the transit. What happens with Mercury is that its orbit is about 1 year. It travels very close to the sun, so it's usually always close to the sun. And but its speed is variable. So what happens is that when Mercury is close to the sun, it's almost working at a double speed. Then it moves away from the sun. But because it is not meant to go too far away from the sun's gravity pulls it back. And then Mercury will retrograde. And then it comes too close to the sun. So it gets hidden behind the sun, which is called combustion. And then it will go at the back of the sun. And then it goes it goes direct, and then it will repeat this cycle again. Rushing to meet the sun, and you could say sun is the source of energy for Mercury. So it's like a fuel stop for Mercury that comes close to sun, then it runs away from the sun, then it will retrograde, come back to the sun again, and then does that. So in a year, Mercury will travel all the 12 signs of the zodiac. It will combust 6 times a year. That means 6 times a year it is not visible. And when it is combust, its speed is double the speed. And then it retrogrades sometimes 3 times a year, sometimes 4 times a year. And then the other point about Mercury, which is important for everybody to understand, is that it doesn't stay in one sign for the same amount of time. So in a year, when you plan out the year, you see that certain signs Mercury will rush through, sometimes just staying 15 days in a sign, 20 days in a sign. And then the signs where it retrogrades, if it is retrograding in that sign completely, that means it doesn't go back to the previous sign, it can stay almost 3 months in one sign. At least over 2 months, because it will go 25 days, it will retrograde, then go forward. So approximately that much time it will stay in those signs. And then sometimes it will do that it's doing, moves into a sign, then retrogrades back and goes back to the previous sign. This is called Ativakri. So it's going back to the previous sign, then comes again. So therefore, those areas where Mercury is staying for a longer time become areas of focus for Mercury. And of course, if it is retrograding back in Gemini or Virgo, that means it is going to be long time in its solid positive signs. Or if it retrogrades back in Pisces, it is in its debilitation sign. So within a year, Mercury will travel all the 12 signs. And of that, it will move towards debilitation in Pisces, exaltation in Virgo, own sign, Gemini, friend sign, Libra, Taurus, other signs as well, So it's going to go through each sign. So we can almost think that's what we are thinking about. If Mercury is in Aries, what is Aries in our chart? That's what we are thinking about. If Mercury is in Taurus, what Taurus is telling us. So it's guiding our thinking, but it's also going very fast. So sometimes we are overdoing things, overthinking. I think this is our 21st century problem anyway, to overthink things. We burn out. So whenever Mercury is combust, it's a time to think about some rest and relaxation, maybe relaxing your mind. And then when Mercury is retrograde, it means that you've got to rethink that problem. Mercury retrogrades can also cause lots of other issues, missed appointments, wrong communication, delays in flights, delay in travel, change of mind. But the main thing about the Mercury retrograde is, and it happens 3 times, sometimes 4 times a year, is to think about that you need to reassess those issues. And if we know Mercury retrograde is happening, we know this is the time to reassess some things. We are not ready to move forward during that time. I personally find Mercury retrograde is always really good for me, but other people can feel it very negatively. However, sometimes I've also felt it. Last time Mercury was retrograde, I had huge internet problems. So, that was so irritating. I knew that it was retrograde, but I couldn't help it because that is what it is. But because I knew Mercury was retrograde, then I knew that I had to just calm down and be on top of the problem, try to call the right places to sort it out. Sometimes it, doesn't sort it out as well. And then Mercury combustion means that you're burnt out, and Mercury is traveling at double speed. So that means our thinking we are overthinking, and then there's crash and burn. So the speeds of Mercury also you need to watch out for. And then because the orbit of Mercury is in 1 year, it is going to conjoin with every planet and oppose every planet. These are the things you watch. So, all the malefics, it will conjoin with Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, Mars. What you're watching is this only one conjunction? Is this, if Mercury is retrograding back over that time? Sometimes I think some few years ago, Mercury-Rahu conjunction was happening 3 times every year. So all those times are stress times. And it's not that life is just going to collapse, but if we know these times are happening, we are aware of it. Then Saturn, same thing. It can have 1 conjunction with Saturn or 3, if depending on where it's retrograding. So then Ketu, Mercury Ketu as well, tough energy. Same applies. Is it 1 conjunction? Is it 3 conjunctions? Mercury Sun, I spoke about, that is called combustion. When Mercury Sun get together, then combustion means that with the Sun, at least 6 combustions a year. So that means Mercury is hidden from the naked eye. It's not visible. It's burnt out. You could say it's on a fuel stop as well. So it gets very charged after combustion too. But all these things have to be watched out. And then also pleasurable conjunctions, Mercury with Venus, Mercury with Jupiter. Now, Moon will go every month conjoined with Mercury, but that's few hours. Moon doesn't stay long enough. So you are seeing all these different transits. And then opposition usually is not so difficult, but in my recordings, I always tell you when planets are in opposition. But the general rule of thumb is that opposition of the malefic planets, Saturn, Mars, is more difficult. Opposition of benefics is more easier to deal with. So there's a lot of things that Mercury is doing in a year. That means if you are ruled by Mercury, whether your moon or your ascendant, even sun, means you have a very busy life, and it's going forward, backward, combustion, conjunctions, all sorts of things. So trying to understand this energy and watching it, this is what we do as astrologers. We watch this energy so that we are then using the good times when Mercury is solid and strong to make decisions. So usually like Taurus, Gemini, Mercury is good in Taurus, it's good in Gemini, like Virgo, Libra, both signs Mercury is good for. So sometimes to do important things, it's worth waiting for it. And especially if Mercury is your Lagna Lord or your moon lord. Otherwise, we still wait for a good Mercury, but the strength of your ascendant ruler is also important. But this very interesting transit of Mercury, I feel, is most important. Now, one other thing I've noticed is that sometimes Mercury and Venus, when they get together, they get into an endless war. And the reason is this, that Mercury and Venus travel at the same pace. So, therefore, it is, it's difficult to separate them. And they are best of friends, but it's like best friends having a little strife or little argument. So those times are also good to watch for. Now, usually Mercury is debilitated around March, April, because remember, it's always close to where the sun is. So wherever sun is in Pisces, Aries, that's where Mercury will be debilitated. So that time is always to watch out for as the weakness of Mercury. Every year, these dates will change, and that's what I do in the channel as well, to let you know. Then Mercury is exalted in September, October, because sun is in Virgo. Even Leo, sometimes if sun is in Leo, Virgo, Libra, Mercury can get exalted. So, and then in Gemini, which is own sign, it is there around May, June. Those are the months. So watching these transits and waiting for the good transits is worth the while. And I have found that this is the biggest secret of the planets, that the planets are always active. They are all the time doing things. And we have to find the spaces where they are shining their beneficence at the maximum for us. So do remember to subscribe, but also leave some messages about how you deal with Mercury and any other suggestions you may have. I love to hear from you. I read all the messages. I don't always reply, but I read them. So do keep on giving me messages. Thank you so much.